a farmer, if I'm a farmer who raises sheep, and I want my dog to protect my sheep, I have to first de-dog my dog.
All right. Okay.
I have to first de-dog my dog.
All right.
And so the way I de-dog my dog is that I take the puppy
All right.
from its mother at birth.
All right.
I can't let the puppy realize that it is a dog because his mama might tell him, baby, you a dog.
All right.
So I got to take the dog from its mother.
All right.
And then I place the head of the puppy against the head of a sheep.
All right.
I want the puppy dog to see
right.
that all that exists in the world is a sheep.
All right.
All that is holy is a sheep.
All right.
Then I force the dog to suckle at the breast of the sheep. I want the puppy to realize that its very existence depends upon the sheep.
All right.
Psychological violence.
All right.
Then I train the puppy, looking at the sheep every day, in and out, every day, sucking at the sheep every day, in and out. Then as the puppy gets stronger, becomes maybe a teenage puppy. All that strength, no mind, just strength. Right? The puppy's strong. Then I capitalize on a natural instinct of living things, which is to have territorial imperative. All living things have a natural instinct of territorial imperative. And so I will enter into the corral now an old dog, a scraggly dog, an ugly dog, a dog you'd be ashamed of if you were a dog. And the puppy engaging in instinctually the natural territorial imperative will attack that old dog. Now I fixed the battle because the old dog was weak, old, defenseless, with a strong, young, healthy teenage dog. And as that teenage dog kills the old dog, I reward him. I reward him. I have de-dogged the dog. I have told the dog psychologically that you are not a dog. All that you see that's important are the sheep. You, in psychological language, traumatize the being and place them at risk. What happens when black children at birth are given to a medium where all that they see that is holy is whiteness? All they see that is holy on television, in the books, in the schools, walking down the streets, everywhere they go, all that they see in front of their face is that whiteness is holy. I've taken the puppy at birth from its mama. Psychologically, you dislocate and create identity confusion. What happens when I suckle and am taught to suckle at the great white breast? That I'm taught you can have all those interesting thinking. You may be a creative writer, but you better go get you a good government job. You can't depend upon black folk for nurturance and for development. You got to get a white man's job. You can't be wearing all that African shit. You can't be having them dreadlocks. You can't be having them big old. You better clean that shit up and get you a good job. You see the psychology here. That I am sucking at the big white breast. I'm sucking at it, and the more I suck at it, the more I realize that if I am to exist, I must depend upon whiteness. Then you decenter and misorient people. You force the puppy to fight its territorial imperative. So now, I'm not African, I'm Jamaican. I'm not African, I'm from Brazil. I'm not African, I'm from California. I'm not African, I'm from Detroit. My territorial imperative no longer becomes Africa. It becomes whatever ground Wade Noble stands on. It ain't about nothing but Wade Nobles. You see what I'm saying? See, this is what? De-dogging the dog. And so if I can make a sheepdog, which we know we can, I can make an African not African. But the value here is that if you know the process of de-dogging the dog, you can re-dog the dog. If you know the process, of de-Africanizing African people, and there is a will, and that's the important part. if there is a will, you can re-Africanize African people. And that re-Africanization of African people comes with having a deep and profound conversation with Africa. See, we have to begin to talk to Africa. Not only Africa meaning that geographical landmass, but that Africa that is inside of us. See, the African that is in our spirit. We got to begin to look at that thing and understand how that occurs in terms of African people. The conceptualizations about what it means to be African get in the way. That's part of de-dogging the dog. You know, I don't want to hear the growl of a dog. All I want, if I hear the sounds of a dog, it must be a whimper. If I hear African people talking as being African, our whimper is that we only talk Africa when there are special holidays and ceremonial times. We can't be African every day. We can't be African every moment of our life. We can be African only at ceremonial time. And that African ceremonial time has to be sanitized, so it's not really African. It is cosmetic. It is like Halloween. You know, we dress up and we pretend to be African. We don't struggle deeply with what it means to be African. But our way is a way that has been recorded, and we can look at it and have this deep conversation with. So I think we got to think deeply about this stuff. We can't just come together all the time and just sort of talk, and we talk amongst ourselves. We got these sort of Afrocentrics going around now. And all the Afrocentrics know the same stuff, read the same books, and nothing changes. Because we haven't thought deeply about it, and we have figured out how do we Africanize time and space. Let me say it again, because that's important. How do we Africanize time and space? It's not just how do we have a classroom, how do we support a good teacher, but how do we Africanize time and space? That's a more profound, deeper question. See, and we got to think about it. I don't have no answer here. But we got to think about what that means in terms of Africanizing time and space. And we need to go to our database. So we do have a database. We have a database in ancient classical African civilization that starts out pointing out that this thing called Ma'at, which is worth exploring and thinking about. Ma'at is this principle of balance in the universe. And it didn't matter whether the balance referred to weights and measures in the marketplace, meaning how you engage in the economy. It didn't matter whether the balance was in terms of the laws in the court, in terms of how you dealt with justice and fairness in human relationship. It didn't matter what balance had to do with the judgment of one's heart at the moment of one's transition. Well, we all know, as Afrocentrics, we know of that wonderful scale with the heart and the feather of Ma'at. And we draw pictures of it. But we haven't thought deeply about that. See, Ma'at was a woman. Ma'at was a woman, so what does that say to us about the centrality and the paramount primacy of feminine energy in relationship to one being a human being? See, I'm not talking about gender confusion here. I'm talking about understanding and thinking deeply about this thing called energy, power, energy, electricity. See, we can't see electricity until somebody puts it to the light bulb. So we don't know what feminine energy is until it expresses itself. But how does my feminine energy express itself and I'm a man? See, it's not some stupid stuff like, oh, you should get in touch with your feminine side. That's bullshit. You know, that is just plain old bullshit. You know, don't tell me about I should cry. I'm not going to cry. You know, I'm a warrior, so I'm not going to cry. Now, I may do something else. But understand the expression of that energy that is the source of life is in me. And how I govern it as an African man has to be thought out. We men got to work through that. And the same thing on the opposite side, how it governs the feminine energy and the being as a woman has to be understood. Ma'at is a principle which makes, and this is where Africans get poetic. Ma'at is a principle which makes the sky peaceful. Think about that. What makes the sky peaceful? What makes Africans just like to get out when the sun is shining? Now, you all know, come in a few more months, New York gonna be an ugly place. You know, when all that winter snow starts coming, when all them dark clouds, we don't do good there. But let May come, and that spring starts coming. Africans come back alive. You know, why is that? Why is it that the sky is peaceful after the storm? Why is it that we recognize that after winter, when springtime comes, we feel a different way? Ma'at, the ancients said, Ma'at does that. It says, Ma'at is that which makes water satisfy thirst.